All right, so this is research that I did in 2006 and 2007. And my interest in the topic started in Barnes & Noble. I was, the magazine racks they have there, like thousands of magazines. So I was looking through a magazine, and I turned to the back cover, and I saw this advertisement. Someone said sexy. Now, this is like a 12-year-old boy. Your words, not mine. So something seemed a little off, so I started looking around. So I thought, what do these boys have in common? Now to do this, for advertising, you want to find the audience that's the target of the ad. Who does the person who's making the advertisement want to talk to? Who do they want to deliver their message to? For designer children's clothing, I ain't the guy. I don't have kids. This advertisement is not intended for me, so I'm not the target. So what I did is I found two groups of mothers. The first ones we're going to call the AMs, the affluent mothers. This is a group of 5 affluent, mostly white, highly educated, as in they all have a bachelor's degree, in their 30s and living in the New York-Boston area. I had individual phone conversations with them. I would show them the ads I'm going to show you, and then ask them a series of questions to get their responses. That was the first group, the AMs. The other group we'll call the ILMs, the low-income mothers. This is a group of mostly Latina mothers who are working on their GEDs. They're about the age of 20, and they live in Holyoke. And what I did there is I went down and conducted a focus group. So you can tell already, the method has 2 different approaches. One-on-one interviews, looking at images over the internet. The other one was a conversation in a group of people in one location. Okay, so let's get to the ads themselves. I chose them all out of Cookie Magazine, which is has anybody heard of Cookie here? Yeah, not so much. Well, again, you're not the target. It's targeted at affluent mothers. So I would think this kind of ads that would be in Cookie would be aiming at one of my groups of mothers. I was looking at ads that were brand extensions. That's to say, there's an adult brand already established, and then they spun off a kids line, and that they had certain structural continuities, as in the design of the ad was similar with the adult line as it was with the children's line, and that the ads were mostly portraits, just the kid, and not a lot of writing or text in them. That was the criteria I used for choosing my ads. So up top are going to be these quotes here. Up top are the affluent mothers, the AM quotes, and then down below are going to be the low-income mother quotes. So when I asked them what this reminds them of, both groups of mothers said, oh, it looks like a celebrity. Someone in People magazine or something, caught unawares by the paparazzi. One of the affluent mothers actually said something interesting. She said, quote, my first thought is, hey, she hangs out in my playground, unquote. She even named places like, oh, maybe East Village, Soho, Tribeca. That's an example of identification. She saw this image. It looks like her neighborhood, looks like her people. She saw herself in it. Now, when I look at this ad, here's what I see. Remember, now I'm stepping out of audience analysis and stepping into textual analysis, just me and the text. When I saw this, it made me think of this. The top, let's see, your top left-hand corner is a feature in the Sunday New York Times called On the Street, where photographers go around, take pictures of real people who are setting trends. The rest of those images are all DKNY advertisements, which, through my eyes, look like they're trying to emulate the layout of a newspaper, the New York Times. But interestingly enough, my audience no one, neither affluent mothers or low-income mothers, mentioned the New York Times. The point here is that I had a different reference system than they did. I read the Sunday New York Times, so I had that in my mind as a referent. So when I saw this ad, it brought that referent to mind. That's also an example of intertextuality. New York Times and the ad. Okay, let's go to diesel. There we go. So affluent mothers say, hey, this is really hot stuff or really fancy. Low-income mothers don't like the mother, who does not appear on camera. But apparently mismatched the socks of her child. And the low-income mothers thought that was ridiculous. You let your child leave the house looking like that? The affluent mothers, curiously, saw this as showing off. High fashion, dressing your kid in something very expensive. Totally different interpretations of the same image. Now, if you think about the idea of blaming the mother, she looked like she didn't care. Blaming the mother for how her kid looks. Kind of looks like a little bit like vicarious consumption. By dressing your children this way, the mother's expressing something about herself, namely she doesn't care. Ralph Lauren. Ready? So I should just say both groups of mothers, both the AMs and the ILMs, liked this ad. And they liked Ralph Lauren. They thought a good thing to wear to a restaurant, go to church, special occasion, something like that. But then the low-income mothers kind of turned on the ad after that. They started going after the sweater. They're like, give me a break. That sweater for them reminded them of the country club. So remember, images come to us with histories. Before there was Tiger Woods, black folks weren't allowed into most country clubs. So that same image can bring back a painful memory, or it can be like, well, we're getting in the country club now, aren't we? Aren't we, Tiger? All right. Baby fat. She's obnoxious. Who could they possibly be talking about? All right, so they had pretty opposite reactions to this ad. It was very polarizing. And it actually wasn't about the ad at all. It was about her. It's all about Kimora Lee. So you can see Kimora Lee with Russell Simmons there. Russell Simmons invented Baby Fat. I'm sorry, Fat Farm. And then married Kimora Lee, and Kimora Lee spun off Baby Fat, her own clothing line. And there's Kimora Lee and her two daughters, which you will notice are the same girls in the picture. So those are her daughters, her real-life daughters. So what I think is an interesting point here is that both the AMs and the ILMs looked at this ad and they saw it through the lens, they saw it refracted through the lens of Kimora Lee. So their opinion about the ad was really determined by something outside of the ad. They encountered a text and there's something outside the text. So then they're doing that intertextuality thing, right? They're relating them together. Now the affluent mothers saw this as sleazy, dangerous, something like a strip club, the nightlife in Thailand, a dangerous place where kids ought not to be. And also saw the girls as very mean. Low-income mothers, remember, mostly Latina, but very much in a sort of urban hip-hop neighborhood, saw these same girls in the same environment as professional, saying things like this. Quote, they're serious. They think they look good. They look like they've done this before. She knows what she's doing. Talk to my agent. This one's similar. Ready? So again, the affluent mothers, they see a threat. Quote, "It makes little boys look like they're really tough and up to no good. I don't like that, staring you down. These guys are meaner." Low-income mothers, they didn't see a threat. They saw themselves. They identify with this ad, strong identification, even started singing a Jay-Z song. Here's the last ad. Remember the brand identity. I think Guess is a pretty strong brand identity. And the adult line of clothing. Here's their ad for Guess Kids. So both groups had a similar reaction. Both said it's too provocative, dangerous. When this ad came up, both the low-income mothers and the affluent mothers spoke of their common experience as women of the male gaze. The idea of the male gaze is women being constantly watched and evaluated, even when just walking down the street. And sometimes you want attention. Sometimes it's nice to have males gaze at you. But what if you don't want attention? The low-income mothers talked about no matter how drab they dressed, no matter how much they covered themselves up, no matter how much they tried not to provoke men, they were still hollered at on the street. But there was nothing they could do about it. There's a long history of this. I'm going to do a brief summary. It's from this guy named John Berger. He's an art critic. And he discovered a theme in Renaissance painting. Here's Susanna and the Elders. Okay, so the old men spying on a woman bathing. A very common theme. There's multiple versions of this painting. Notice she's also regarding herself, seeing herself through the eyes of others. Now keep in mind that this painting here would have been commissioned by a male patron, very wealthy male patron, who would hang this painting up in his house for his male guests to gaze upon. Kind of like a Renaissance pinup calendar. And this happened over and over and over again. Hundreds and hundreds of female nudes socializing women to see themselves as men see them. One more. This was painted 200 years later. Another theme. The look. The invitation. The come hither. Does this face look familiar? This is all very interesting, but so what? It's just advertisements. Does it really matter? If they don't like the clothing, don't buy it. Problem is, we're talking about children and childhood. And it's a cultural concept. The meaning of childhood has changed over the years. Culture shapes our ideas of what childhood should and should not be, where childhood should go. And kids grow up really fast. This could be where we're headed. I hope, if nothing else, I have convinced you that images do matter, and that we see them through the lens of our previous experiences, defined by the intersections of our identities. Thanks for your attention. It was fun.